I remember the sound first. Not the pain, not the fear, just the sound. His voice, loud and sharp, echoing against the walls of our home. I remember falling, my head hitting the edge of the table. A flash of white, then nothing. When I opened my eyes again, fluorescent lights were above me and my body felt heavy, like it belonged to someone else. And there he was, Mark, my husband, standing beside the hospital bed, softly stroking my hand, telling the nurse she slipped. She's always so clumsy, his voice gentle, concerned, loving. A performance, one he had perfected. Because Mark didn't just hit me, he owned my silence. Or at least, he thought he did. That was the day something inside me finally woke up. My name is Lily, I am 38 years old. I used to believe my life would be soft, warm, filled with love the way storybooks promised. I pictured quiet mornings, simple joys, hands held across kitchen tables. I grew up in a small town where everyone knows everyone and the world feels simple. I was raised by a gentle mother who taught me to see beauty in everything. In morning sunlight, in the hush of evening, in the laughter of neighbors. I believed that kindness could fix everything. So when I met Mark, with his charming smile, confident posture, and warm attention, I thought I had found someone who felt safe. Someone who made the world steady. He worked in finance, bold, assertive, respected. He spoke and people listened. I was softer, quieter. A school teacher with a love for children and books and small joys. He told me he admired that about me. He said I was gentle in a world that was too loud. He said I was the kind of woman men protected. I didn't realize until much later that he didn't want to protect me. He wanted to control me. The change didn't come all at once. It came the way winter comes, slowly, a degree at a time. At first, it was small things. He corrected the way I spoke, then the way I dressed, then the friends I kept. Your friend Beth is too nosy. Your cousin Charlotte is too negative. You talk too softly, people don't take you seriously. Don't wear that, it makes you look cheap. I thought he was trying to help me improve, help me grow. Because love listens, love adapts. I kept adjusting, changing, shrinking. I became quieter. I stopped meeting friends, stopped calling family, stopped smiling as freely. It was easier this way, to keep the peace. Then came the first time his hand struck my face. It wasn't a closed fist, just a quick, sharp slap. We had been arguing, something small. Dinner was late. The house wasn't quiet enough. His day had been stressful. I remember the shock more than the pain. My body froze. My mind couldn't understand. He cried afterward, held me, said he didn't know what came over him. I'm just under so much pressure, he whispered. And I, foolish, hopeful, loving, believed him. Because I wanted to believe in the man I fell in love with. Not the one who stood in front of me that night. But once a line is crossed, it becomes easier to cross again. His apologies became shorter, his remorse less convincing. The slaps became pushes, the pushes became punches. The punches became routine, and I learned how to fall without making noise. Our daughter, Rose, was 5 at the time. She would sit quietly in her room when voices rose. She would hug me afterward, her little arms wrapping around my ribs, careful not to press too hard where bruises formed. I always told her, Mommy's okay. Mommy's strong, but I didn't believe it. Not then, it was a Sunday. Soft rain fell outside. The world felt gentle. Mark was already angry. I could feel it in his footsteps, the way his jaw tightened, the way his voice stayed too calm. A storm waiting for anything to strike. I set dinner on the table. Chicken stew, warm bread. Rose drew pictures on the floor nearby. He tasted the soup. Too salty, he said. I apologized. Gently, carefully. But sometimes it doesn't matter how soft you speak. Some storms search for something to destroy. He grabbed the bowl and threw it across the room. The crash was loud. Rose covered her ears. Then he grabbed my wrist. Hard, too hard. His words were cold. You can't do a single thing right, can you? I looked at him. Not with anger, not with fear, but with something he wasn't used to. Stillness. That stillness made him angrier. The blow was fast, sharp. Pain exploded behind my eyes. I fell, my head hitting the table corner. The world spun, colors blurred. Voices stretched into echoes, then darkness. I opened my eyes to white lights. My body was aching, my head felt heavy. Mark stood beside me, holding my hand like a grieving husband in a movie. He looked at the nurse with a broken expression and said, She fell. She fainted. She's been weak lately. His voice was trembling, perfectly trembling. The nurse nodded with sympathy. They believed him, of course they did. He looked like the perfect husband. And I looked like someone who broke easily. I wanted to speak, to say something, anything. But my throat felt tight. My voice was gone. And then I heard him whisper into my ear, "You tell them anything. And I swear, I'll make sure no one believes you." His hand never stopped gently stroking mine. To the outside world, he was devoted. To me, he was a cage with a heartbeat. But while Mark spoke to the nurse, something happened. I saw her, the nurse, the way she looked at my bruises. Not just the fresh one, but the faint ones, the ones hidden beneath sleeves. Her eyes were not just kind. They were knowing. She didn't say anything. Not yet. She simply placed her hand on my shoulder, squeezed gently, and whispered, "Lily, you're safe here. We see you." And in that moment, I realized the world had not abandoned me. Someone had noticed, someone believed me. And maybe, just maybe, this was where everything would begin to change. The nurse's hand on my shoulder felt like warmth I had forgotten existed. Her name, I later learned, was Margaret. She looked to be in her late 40s, calm eyes, steady voice, the kind of woman who has seen more than she says. There was a gentleness about her, but a firmness too, like someone who carried the stories of many women before me. She didn't ask questions right away. She didn't rush me. She simply stayed near. Mark sat in the corner of the hospital room, flipping through his phone, occasionally glancing up to smile, a rehearsed, polished smile, whenever someone looked his way. To them, he looked like a devoted husband. To me, he looked like a wolf dressed in Sunday clothes. I felt small in that bed, small and exhausted. Every breath hurt. I wanted to speak, to explain, to tell someone, anyone, what was happening inside my home. But fear had lived in me for so long, it felt like a bone in my body. A part of me. What if no one believed me? What if he took Rose away? What if I made things worse? The silence felt heavier than my pain. When Mark stepped out to make a phone call, Margaret approached. She didn't stand over me. She sat beside me so our eyes were level. Her voice was soft. "Lily, I need to ask you something. And I want you to know, there is no judgment here." My heart pounded, my throat tightened. She gently pushed the sleeve of my hospital gown back, revealing the faint yellowing bruises near my shoulder. Her eyes softened with sadness. Not pity, but recognition. This doesn't look like one fall." Tears burned behind my eyes. I tried to swallow them back. I didn't want to break, not here, not in front of someone I barely knew. But her voice was so warm, so patient. "You are not alone," she said. "You don't have to say anything right now. I just need to ask, are you safe with your husband?" The answer rose inside me immediately. No, but the word couldn't leave my lips. Silence sat between us, heavy and trembling. Margaret didn't push. She simply nodded, understanding everything without needing my voice. She stood and said softly, "If you ever tell me that you're not safe, I will help you, and I will believe you." I closed my eyes, a tear slipped down. No one had believed me, in years, not even myself. When Mark came back, the room changed. His presence filled the space like smoke, invisible but suffocating. He smiled at Margaret, thanked her for taking care of his wife, spoke charmingly about how clumsy I was, how worried he'd been. His voice carried just enough ache to draw sympathy, and everyone, doctors, nurses, staff, nodded with gentle reassurance. Because Mark was convincing, he was polished. He knew how to perform love. When we were finally discharged, he placed his hand on my back as we walked toward the car. To everyone around us, it looked loving, but his fingers pressed too firmly, a silent reminder. I belonged to him. We drove home in silence. The world outside the window looked calm. People walking dogs, children riding bikes, leaves rustling under autumn wind. Normal life, so close, so far. I sat beside him, hands folded tightly in my lap, staring ahead. Mark finally spoke, his voice low. "You embarrassed me today." My stomach tightened. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His quiet anger was more frightening than shouting. "I take you to the hospital," he continued. "I worry about you. I handle everything. And you look at that nurse like she's your savior?" I didn't answer. I knew anything I said could be the wrong thing. He laughed under his breath. "You think anyone will ever take your side? You think anyone will choose you over me?" His words cut deeper than his hands ever had. Because part of me had once believed that. When we got home, I went straight to Rose's room. She was sitting cross-legged on the carpet, coloring. Her face lit up when she saw me. "Mommy!" She ran into my arms carefully. She always hugged carefully, as though she already understood pain more than a child should. I held her tight, burying my face in her hair. She smelled like baby shampoo and crayons. "Are you okay?" she whispered. Her voice was so small. I swallowed the ache in my throat. "Yes, sweetheart, Mommy's okay." I wasn't, but I needed her to feel safe. She looked up at me with soft, knowing eyes much older than her age. "You're still my superhero," she said. I broke inside. I wanted to be her superhero. I wanted to be strong. But how do you be strong when you have forgotten what strength feels like? I kissed her forehead. "One day," I whispered, "I'll make everything better. I promise. I just didn't know how." That night, after Rose was asleep, I sat alone in the dark living room. My body was heavy with bruises, but something was different now. A seed had been planted. Margaret's voice echoed in my mind. "You don't have to say anything yet. But if you ever tell me you're not safe, I will help you." Someone believed me. Someone saw me. I was no longer completely invisible. For the first time in years, I felt the faintest flicker of something I thought I had lost. Small, fragile, but real. I didn't stand yet. I didn't fight yet, but inside me, something had begun to shift. A quiet voice whispered, "This is not the end." I didn't know then that life was about to change in ways I could never imagine. I didn't know that the next event would shake the foundation of everything. I didn't know that someone else already suspected the truth. Someone close, someone who had been watching carefully. And soon they were going to step forward. And when they did, everything would unravel. The next few days passed slowly, like I was walking inside thick fog. Mark was unusually calm, overly calm, the way quiet ocean water warns of a storm rising beneath. He didn't shout, he didn't hit. But that silence was heavier than blows. He watched me, every movement, every breath, as if waiting. I moved through the house like a shadow, careful, gentle, invisible. But my heart, it was no longer silent. It remembered Margaret's words. "If you ever tell me you're not safe, I will help you." Those words were like a small candle burning inside a dark room. Not enough to see clearly, but enough to keep me from drowning. It was 3 days after the hospital visit when someone knocked on my door. I opened it slowly. It was Charlotte, my neighbor. She was in her early 50s, kind eyes, always watering her roses. She had seen me every morning for years. Our conversations were usually small and simple, about weather, groceries, sometimes about school pickup timings. But that day, her eyes looked different. Concerned, careful. She held a paper bag in her hands. "Lily, dear, I baked some muffins." My breath caught. I knew what this was. People bring food when they don't know how to bring questions. I forced a soft smile. "Thank you, that's very thoughtful." But she didn't step back. She hesitated, then asked quietly, softly, "May I come in?" My stomach tightened. Because I knew Mark was in the kitchen, wiping the counters, appearing like the model husband. I nodded and let her in. She greeted Mark politely. He smiled his golden boy smile, thanked her for the muffins, even offered coffee. She refused, gently, and followed me to the living room. I sat. She sat across from me. Her eyes lowered to my wrist, the bruises peeking through my sweater. And in that moment, I knew she knew. She didn't gasp. She didn't pity. She didn't ask loud questions. She simply spoke in a soft whisper. "I used to be where you are." My heart stopped. Her voice trembled, not from fear, from memory. "I stayed for 16 years, she continued, "because I loved him. Because I believed he would get better. Because I thought leaving meant failing." Tears gathered behind my eyes. She reached across and gently held my hand. Leaving is not failing. Surviving is not failing. My breath broke. My voice couldn't. I didn't speak, but she understood my silence. She squeezed my hand softly and whispered, "When you are ready, I can help." Her words joined Margaret's. 2 women, 2 lights, 2 hands reaching into the dark. I didn't know how to thank her. But something inside me shifted a little more. Another small piece of strength returned. That evening, I was preparing dinner when Mark walked into the kitchen. He was silent at first. Then he said very calmly, "Don't talk to her again." My hands froze on the cutting board. "She's trying to put ideas in your head," he continued, voice smooth, controlled. "People love destroying marriages. Misery loves company." I didn't turn. I didn't speak. He stepped closer, his presence towering, his breath close to my ear. "You are mine, Lily, do you understand?" I felt the blade in my hand tremble, not because I intended to use it, but because for the first time, I realized I could. Not today, not now. But someday I could fight back. I quietly placed the knife down and stepped away. Mark didn't like that. He grabbed my arm, hard, but not where bruises would show. His voice was a low whisper. "Don't make me teach you twice." Fear surged up my spine, but something else rose beside it. Something new. Anger, small, shaking, but alive. He didn't notice it, but I did. That night when I tucked Rose into bed, she looked up at me, her little hands touching my cheek. "Mommy, I saw Daddy grab you today." My whole body stilled. Children see what adults pretend. My throat tightened, my heartbeat quickened. I stroked her hair gently. "Sweetheart, sometimes grown-ups argue." She shook her head, tears filling her eyes. "No, Daddy hurts you." The truth, simple, clear, spoken without fear. Something inside me broke open. Tears fell silently. I held her, my voice trembling. "You're very brave, Rose." She rested her head on my chest. "I don't want you to disappear again." Disappear. She meant the hospital. She meant the stillness. She meant the way I faded inside myself. I kissed the top of her head. "I'm here, baby. I'm not going anywhere." But I knew that wasn't true. Something had to change soon. Very soon, shower. I went to the kitchen drawer. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking. I typed a message. "To Margaret, I need help." I stared at those words for a long moment. My breath shook, my heart pounded. My hands trembled. Then I pressed send. The world did not explode. The house stayed silent. But inside my chest, I felt something shift. A door opening, a step taken. There was no going back. A moment later, my phone lit up. "Margaret, I'm here. Tell me where." I typed the address with hands that were no longer shaking. I felt fear, yes. But I also felt something else. Courage. Small, fragile, but real. Rose peeked into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes sleepily. I knelt and wrapped her in my arms. "Do you want to go somewhere with Mommy today?" I whispered. She nodded softly, trusting me completely. I held her tight, so tight, as if she were the only thread keeping me from falling apart. And maybe she was. The clock ticked slowly. Mark was still upstairs. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Then, ding dong, my heart jumped. Rose held my hand tighter. I walked to the door. I reached for the handle. I pulled it open. And standing there was not Margaret, not Charlotte, not anyone I expected. It was the police. 2 officers, their expressions serious. My blood ran cold. They stepped inside without waiting for permission. My breath stopped. What was happening? Had Margaret called them? Had Charlotte? Or my heart dropped. No, Mark. This was his move. I could feel him stepping down the stairs behind me, his voice calm, controlled, dripping with false concern. "Officers, thank you for coming. My wife, she's not well. She's been confused. I just want her to get the help she needs." I froze. This was worse than every bruise, every slap, every silent threat. He wasn't just trying to hurt me now. He was trying to take my freedom, my voice, my truth. My daughter, my world spun. The officers looked at me, waiting. I opened my mouth to speak, but breath refused to come. My voice was gone, and I realized this was his real weapon. Control, silence, fear. But then, a small hand slipped into mine. Rose, she stepped forward. Her voice, small, trembling, but brave. "Daddy hurts Mommy." The room fell silent. The officers froze. Mark's face changed, just for a second, the mask cracking. Everything was about to unravel. The room felt frozen. Rose's words hung in the air like a bell that would not stop ringing. "Daddy hurts Mommy." The police officers looked at her, then at me. Their eyes softened, and something shifted. Mark's expression cracked only for a moment, a flash of panic behind his charming mask, before he forced a smile and laughed lightly. "She's just a child," he said, voice smooth. "She's confused. Kids her age imagine things when they see their mothers upset." His tone, gentle, reasonable, calm, was the voice of a man who had practiced deception for years. But the officers did not move. The younger one, Officer James, knelt down to Rose's level. "Sweetheart," he asked softly, "why do you think Daddy hurts Mommy?" Rose swallowed, her little chin trembling, but her voice steady. Because Mommy always cries. Because Daddy tells her not to talk. Because sometimes she can't walk right. I broke. Tears spilled down my cheeks. This small child had carried my suffering inside her tiny heart. Officer James slowly stood and faced me. "Ma'am, do you feel safe right now?" My lips parted, barely, but this time the word came. "No, just one word. But one word can change everything." Mark's charm evaporated, his jaw tightened. His eyes hardened, his voice sharpened like a blade. "Lily, stop! You don't know what you're doing." But I did. For the first time, I did. Officer James stepped between us. "Sir, I need you to stay where you are." Mark's anger cracked through his voice. "She's my wife." "Yes," the officer replied calmly, "and we are ensuring her safety." The other officer, Officer Miller, turned to me. "Would you like to leave the house with your daughter?" My breath shook, my heart pounded, but I nodded. "Yes, please." I didn't pack much, just a small bag, some clothes, Rose's favorite stuffed rabbit, a photo of her on her 5th birthday, and a necklace my mother gave me long ago. Mark stood in the doorway as we left, his eyes burning with silent rage. But he didn't move. He couldn't. Not anymore. Officer James walked us to the patrol car. Rose sat beside me, holding my hand tight. As the car pulled away, I looked back at the house where so much pain had lived, where I had lost myself, where I had almost disappeared. And I whispered to myself, "It's over." But escaping is not the same as healing. Healing would be another journey, a slow one. But at least now, I was walking toward the light. Margaret met us at the women's shelter. When she saw me, she didn't say "I told you so." She didn't ask questions. She simply wrapped her arms around me, the first gentle embrace I'd felt in years. "You did it," she whispered. "You came out." I cried into her shoulder, not from pain, but from relief. Rose played quietly in the corner, coloring again. Children are like flowers. They know where light is. And she had found it. That night, I lay in a small room with a thin blanket and a single pillow. But for the first time in years, I slept without fear. No footsteps outside the door. No sudden anger waiting. No shadow hovering above my breath. Just quiet, just peace, just safety. The days turned into weeks. Therapy sessions, support groups talking, crying, breathing again. Charlotte visited. The shelter staff helped me get a lawyer. I filed for custody. The court listened, because the hospital records, the bruises, the police report, and Rose's testimony spoke louder than any lie Mark could tell. The judge granted me full custody. Mark was ordered to attend mandatory counseling and had supervised visitation only. It wasn't victory, but it was freedom. And freedom was more precious than victory. 3 months later, I moved into a small apartment. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't big, but it was mine. I decorated Rose's room first. Fairy lights, soft blankets, her drawings taped to the wall. She ran around the apartment barefoot, laughing, her laughter filling the space like sunlight. I watched her and felt tears touch my smile. One afternoon, as we sat together on the small sofa, she looked up and whispered, "Mommy, you don't cry anymore." And I held her close and whispered back, "Because we're safe now, baby. We're home." I started a job at a local bakery. The early mornings were quiet. The smell of fresh bread felt comforting. I met people who didn't know my pain, and I learned how to live without it defining me. Slowly, my reflection changed. The woman in the mirror began to resemble someone strong, someone who survived, someone who protected her child, someone who saved herself, someone worthy of love, real love, not control, not pain, not fear. If you are listening to my story, and if any part of your heart whispers, "This feels familiar," please hear me. You are not weak, you are not trapped. You are not alone. There are hands waiting to hold you. There are voices waiting to believe you. There are doors waiting to open for you. You just have to take the first step, even if your voice shakes, even if your heart trembles. You deserve safety, you deserve peace, you deserve love that does not hurt. I survived, and you can too.